The Bangtan Boys. A BTS fanfiction. Chapter 1. Misfortune and Surprises. Colorful signs and posters were being held up and swayed in the air as the anxious fans waited for the Bangtan Boys to make their appearance. You watched the stage like a hawk waiting for them to come out. You had saved up enough money to fly over to Korea and go to the BTS concert. This was the moment you'd been waiting for. You almost couldn't believe that you were here. Soon a spotlight shone on the guys walking down stage as they waved and smiled to their fans. The people cheered and roared with excitement as they got ready to sing. Your eyes widened and you smiled as they started to sing No More Dream. You cheered on with the crowd and sang along. You were enjoying this so much. The concert lasted for about an hour or two, but sadly, it all had to end eventually. The boys waved after they sang their last song, then disappeared somewhere backstage. People flooded the exits trying to leave, and they quickly got in their cars. You were staying in a hotel that was fairly close to the stadium, in which the concert was held at, so you decided to walk to it. The Korean streets were quiet and peaceful as cars zoomed by. Only a couple of people walked past you and barely noticed you. The night was still. It was just perfect. The hotel was only a couple of blocks away when a stranger walks behind you and rips your purse off your arm. He started to run away with it, not leaving any traces behind of who he is. "Hey, come back!" you yelled, trying to get him to come back. But of course he didn't listen. You tried running after him, but he was too quick and far ahead. You soon collapsed on the street curb and began to sob quietly in your hands as tears trickled down your face, leaving trails. Everything important was in your purse, including your phone, money, passport, plane ticket, hotel keys, and your license. You had nowhere to go and had no identity in Korea now. Thoughts flooded your mind. You wondered how you were going to go back home when you slept. This only made you cry harder. Soon a mysterious car pulled up to you and a man got out of it. The man sat next to you and tapped your shoulder gently. Miss, is there something wrong?" the man asked. You wiped your tears and looked up. You were in such shock. This man was no other than Rap Monster? Chapter 2. J-Hope and Laughing? Rap Monster chuckled. He looked at you and nodded. "Yep, that's me. What's wrong? Why are you crying?" He looked at you a little concerned and curious. You cleared your throat. Well, you see, a man stole my purse, and all of my important belongings were in there. And I'm not a native here, so technically I'm stuck in a different country with no phone or money. You looked down and fidgeted with your fingers. It was amazing to talk to Rap Monster, but it would be better if it weren't in this kind of situation. Rap Monster spoke up. "Well, what if you come with me? I could help you, and we can find a way to get you back home as soon as we can." He smiled and looked at you, waiting for an answer. If it's okay with you." "Of course it is. Plus, I can't just leave you here." You smiled and you suddenly felt a little relieved. "Thank you so much. I owe you one. Thank you. Thank you." Rap Monster laughed. He helped you up and opened the car door for you. You blushed as you saw that everyone from BTS was in there. "Hey guys, hope you don't mind another passenger. She needed some help and she'll be staying with us," Rap Monster said as he sat down. An open seat was available in between Rap Monster and J-Hope. You quickly sat down and blushed. You felt a tap on your left shoulder, and you turned your head to be faced with J-Hope and his smile. "Hey, what's your name?" he said while smiling. You blushed a little. My name is Ren," you said as you smiled slightly. J-Hope kept smiling brightly. "Oh, Ren, that's a nice name. Nice to meet you. Let's be friends, okay?" You smiled. "Okay." You were a bit surprised at the sudden question. You still agreed since he asked. You couldn't help but notice that all the boys were looking your way, and you felt a bit out of place. Rapmon noticed that and immediately told the boys to stop it. "Guys, come on, you're making poor Ren uneasy." V felt bad and he apologized. I'm sorry," he said with broken English. You laughed a little since all of them besides J-Hope didn't know you could speak Korean pretty well, since you studied it. "I can speak Korean," you said. The boys all looked at you surprised and laughed a little as the awkwardness went away. V blushed a little and laughed, knowing that he probably sounded like an idiot, and J-Hope just made fun of them. You laughed with them. This wasn't as bad as you thought it would be. This wasn't as bad as you thought it would be anymore. Chapter 3. Temporary Home and Sleeping with Jimin? So you speak Korean, Rat Monster said, a little surprised but impressed. You simply nodded and smiled. You were glad you could speak the language because it was easier to get around Korea, and it wouldn't be good not knowing a thing anyone was saying. The car ride lasted about 10 minutes since the boys were staying at an apartment they had rented to stay at while they had concerts in the city. They only had one performance left in this area, and then they would be heading back home after it all ended. The driver opened the door, and the guys got out one by one. You got out after everyone else did, and J-Hope helped you out. Thank you. You blushed a little and smiled. No problem, J-Hope said, flashing one of his famous and adorable smiles. The boys thanked the driver and waved at him as he left to park the car. They started to go up the stairs to the apartment and unlock the door. The apartment was pretty large in size and was furnished modernly. It was a beige color with white carpeting. It had 4 rooms, and you figured the boys shared the room since there wasn't enough for all of them to have their own room. You must be tired, miss. You should go to sleep, V said. No, you replied. You're the ones that must be tired after your concert. V smiled and nodded. Jungkook and Jin plopped on the brown leather couch in the corner. They both let out a relieved sigh and adjusted themselves on the couch to get comfortable. You chuckled a little, yet you felt bad that they always have to work so hard and they never have time to rest. Come on, guys, go to bed, Rat Monster said as he pulled them up by their arms. They both got up and tumbled into their rooms, where they landed face first into their beds. If you don't mind, I can sleep on the couch, you stated. I can't let you do that. That would be rude. Is it okay if you share a room? I don't mind. With who? Well, it is Jimin's turn to sleep alone, so you two could share. Oh, okay, you replied. Jimin blushed. It's fine with me, whatever. He rubbed the back of his neck and walked to his bedroom. You waved and said goodnight to J-Hope, Ratmon, V, and Suga, and then followed behind Jimin. He was already in his sleeping attire and was sitting on the bed. Hey, you said, trying to start up a conversation. Hi, he said as he smiled. You sat next to him and looked down. It was awkward between you two until Jimin decided to speak up. So, have you ever listened to our music? He asked as he looked at you. You looked up and nodded. Yes, I'm a big fan. I went to your concert and it was amazing. Jimin chuckled and smiled. Thanks. I'm glad you liked it. You smiled back. Yeah, don't you guys have a concert tomorrow again? Yep, same place. Again. You should rest then. You need to be fully energized so you can do your best. You smiled and gave him a thumbs up. Okay, he said. You should too. Okay. Good night. Night. You laid back and pulled the covers over you as you closed your eyes. Jimin turned off the lights and fell asleep also. You could hear him breathing and it sounded like he was exhausted. You turned around to face him and he was already asleep. You smiled because he looked so peaceful and cute sleeping. You closed your eyes again and this time truly fell asleep. It felt great to sleep and relax and also clear your mind. Chapter 4. Breakfast with Jin and another concert? The sunlight leaked through the window's pale brown curtains behind the bed. You perched yourself on your elbows and noticed that Jimin had already gotten up. You saw a note taped to the door that said, Hey, I went out and bought you some spare clothes, and there's things in the bathroom for you to use and get ready. JM. You smiled and thought what Jimin did was so sweet. You picked up the clothes that were laying down on the nightstand and headed to the bathroom. Jimin had left a toothbrush and a hairbrush for you, as well as a towel. You turned on the water and took a nice warm shower for 15 minutes. You grabbed the towel and dried yourself up. Surprisingly, the clothes that Jimin had gotten you fit you perfectly. He got you jeans, a pair of sandals, and a basketball jersey that said BTS on the front. You slipped the clothes on and pulled your hair into a ponytail. Soon you finished getting ready and headed to the living room, where the boys were horsing around and eating breakfast. Morning, you said as you smiled and waved. The boys smiled back. Morning, they replied in unison. Jin was in the kitchen cooking. He then stepped out with a plate and handed it to you. Here you go. I hope you like it, he said as he smiled. Oh, thank you. I'm sure I will. Jinmin has served you rice and soup with a side of kimchi. You started to eat and was amazed at how good it tasted. Wow, it's amazing, Jin. Jin smiled and bowed. Thank you. You soon finished your delicious breakfast and once again thanked Jin. You walked to the other boys and was soon tackled into a hug by J-Hope. Ren, good morning, he said cheerfully as usual. You were a bit shocked, but you hugged him back. Morning, Hobie. You smiled at him. He smiled back and finally let you go. Hey, Ren, we have another concert, so would you like to come with us? Rat Monster said. I'd love to. Oh, and thanks for the clothes, Jimin. You're welcome. He blushed slightly and smiled. Ratmon? Yeah, what is it? How am I going to go back home? You said, worried, as the smile you had slowly turned into a small frown. We'll figure something out, I promise. After the concert, we'll do everything possible and we'll try and contact your family. You smiled and hugged him. Thank you for being so nice to me and helping me. No problem. I'm happy to help. He patted your head and you let go of him. It was soon time to start heading to the arena where the concert was going to be held. The boys climbed into the car, and so did you. You sat in the middle of V and Suga. Soon enough, J-Hope flooded the car with his laughter and jokes, making everyone else crack up as they also joking around. No, V. This is how you act cute, J-Hope said as he did Eggyo. He began to whine like a baby and tried to act cutely. V laughed and tried to do it, but J-Hope made fun of him once again. Wow, you need practice, J-Hope said and kept laughing. You laughed as well. It was nice to see that Bangtan boys liked to play around and be themselves instead of trying to protect their image. The ride seemed to not last long since you were all having fun. You all got out and headed to the dressing room where the boys' stylists were waiting for them. All right, boys, time to get ready, Ratmon said as he smiled. He sure was pumped up for this concert. Hey guys, I hope that you are enjoying this story. I think there's about 4 or 5 more chapters of this little Bangtan Boys fic. If you'd like to finish this story, let me know. Comment and like and subscribe. Thank you guys.